Hi! Within this lecture, we're going to see how to fake authenticate ourselves to a router. And why do we want to do that? In the previous lecture, we discussed that we need to gather some IV, some datas, in order to crack the WEP passwords. Okay? And we were lucky because some of the clients that are connected to that router, some of the devices, just run some YouTube videos, right? They watched YouTube videos, they downloaded something, so there was some traffic going on in that router. But we cannot risk that, okay? We have to have a way in order to have some traffic, in order to generate even some fake traffic in that router. And we can inject some fake packets into that router, but in order to do that, we need to be authenticated. And in order to be authenticated, we need the actual password itself. And this is the main reason that we are trying to do all of these things, right? So in the first place, we need to find the password in order to connect to this network. So we have something called fake authentication tool. Okay, we're going to use this and we're going to fakely authenticate ourselves to that network, and we cannot connect to the internet using that network, but we can inject some packets doing that. So AirPlay NG actually provides us this opportunity. We use the fake authentication method inside of AirPlay NG, and we associate our device to that router so that we can inject some fake packets, fake traffic. And it will allow us to collect IVs. So let me close this down and try to go into my Kali Linux. So username and password, then I will sign in. And later on, let me maximize this window as usual so we can see it better. Okay. And of course, I'm using the usual setup, like my USB Wi-Fi card is now plugged in, but I'm not connected because I will go into the monitor mode anyway, and I'm using Airmon NG in order to go into the monitor mode. As usual, Airmon NG, and I will say WLAN O. Okay, start WLAN O. It will put me in the monitor mode, and I can confirm this of course by running iwconfig, okay, and say not wiconfig but iwconfig, and I will see that my interface is right now WLAN on, and my mode is the monitor mode. Then next thing to do is to grab the general information about the router that we are targeting. And of course, easiest way to do this is to run airdump ng, okay, airdump ng WLAN on. It will show us the routers that are around us. So let me make this into a little bit bigger screen. As we can see, we have this Pulp Fiction network here, which uses the WEP encryption model. So we're going to focus on that. And we have seen how to do this before, right? So we can see the encryption model, we can see the channel and everything. Now it's time to fakely authenticate ourselves. But first, I'm going to run airdump ng specific to that Pulp Fiction, because we're going to monitor our process along the way. So we can see the connected devices when we run airdump ng for a specific network, remember? And we're going to see if we are really authenticated after we run AirPlay. So let me specify the MAC address of Pulp Fiction. Of course, we can get this from here. So this is our BSS ID. Let me copy this and paste in here. And then later on, remember what you have to do. You have to specify the channel as well. So the channel is 9 in this case. And then we have to specify whether we want to write out some test file or some file actually. So let me call this fake authentication, and then specify the interface itself, which is WLAN or MON in my case. Once I hit enter, it starts the arrow dump ng against this network. So now I can see the devices that are connected to this network down below, and I see the datas in here. As you can see, I don't have many datas at this case. So nobody's going to YouTube, nobody's downloading something, so I cannot generate enough IVs to crack the WEP. So what do? I use AirPlay NG to authenticate myself. And then later on, we will inject some packets, of course. So let me write this, AirPlay NG -- fake auth, and I'm going to say 0. And this stands for reassociation time. Okay, so it will reassociate me every 0 seconds. Actually, if I say 0, it won't try to reassociate me, but if I say something like 6000, it will try to reassociate me every 6 seconds. So I'm going to say 0 for that, and then later on you will have to say -a to specify the MAC address, BSSID, and then you have to say -h, okay, in order to specify your own MAC address of your Wi-Fi card. So in order to get your own MAC address, you can just run ifconfig, okay, ifconfig WLAN on MON actually in this point, and I believe our MAC address in here shows up in this section, but let me run another command in order to confirm this, okay. So I will run IP address, okay, ADDR. So here we can see it better. Yeah, I believe they are the same. So this is our MAC address. So let me copy this and then close this down and paste it in here. So this is my hardware, and I'm going to associate this with our access point, and of course I have to specify my interface as well. And once I do that, as you can see, my device is added to that list. Now I'm fakely authenticated in this router. I still cannot connect to it since I don't know the password yet, but I can now inject data, send some packets to it in order to generate some traffic, in order to gather some IVs. And that's what we are going to do within the next lecture.